Ross Taylor couldn't see at night or when the clouds were in. Eventually, he had to see an eye specialist who would fix his eyesight. In the 2 years before the change, he still averaged more than 50 in international cricket. The top level of batting talent can basically see in the dark. That is who we are talking about in our new book, The Art of Batting. Head over and order your copy today. This video is brought to you by our supporters on Patreon. If you want to be part of the community that makes content like this, head over now.
Hello, and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Third Innings Live. I'm Behram Qazi, who you can find at Def Mango on Twitter, and with me is my colleague Shayan Ahmed Khan, who you can find at Tweets by Shayan on Twitter. And we're here to review the India versus Pakistan game in the Women's ODI World Cup. But before we get into the mix of things, I just want all of you guys to know that all of our podcasts on the Good Areas Network are powered by our supporters on Patreon. You can become one of them, by the way, by going to Patreon/Good Areas Podcast. And that way you can enjoy ad-free content, you can talk to us exclusively, and you can give us podcast recommendations. All right, then, Shayan, I know you've had a busy day. I've had a busy day as well. And an expected result, end of the day, India bowled Pakistan out for 159 in 43 overs, and they won the game by 88 runs. But India were quite scrappy, weren't they?
Yeah, definitely. I think, especially for me, it was that second wicket partnership. I don't think they batted very fast. Like, I think I might actually start with this. So this was the piece that I did for Best of Cricket as well. You can go follow him as well. Just a little plug in here. But the point is, so once Smriti got out, I thought they were actually playing pretty well in the power play. That was not too bad. Like, they were 48 in 9 overs, there were 48 runs for one dismissal, right? And actually, I feel like Smriti was, like, she kept finding the fielders, and Pratika was actually batting pretty well. Like, if you saw her backfoot punches, like all those drives, she was playing really well, like very elegant cricket, right? And somehow Smriti, I think she has been a lot faster in one day cricket, and she's in the form of her life right now. But ultimately, I feel Pakistan bowled well to her early on, and Pakistan actually went with two pacers early on, so they didn't bring on any of. They actually opened with a spinner, but then after that they switched to their fast bowlers, and I think they did a pretty good job early on, and getting Smriti was definitely a big wicket right there. But my concern with the middle overs partnership with the partnership right after the power play was over, when Harleen and Pratika were playing together. So just let me sum up what happened today, right? So they played 35 deliveries and they added only 19 runs in that period, and that includes 2 fours and a 6. So essentially, if you take out the wicket ball and the boundary balls, they made 5 runs of 31 balls. That's like a lot of dot balls, man. You can't be facing that many dot balls. You need to be rotating strike more effectively. And so it's not that India don't have the players to be able to do it, right? I think it's just these two, when they bat together, it's not ideal, because whenever Smriti bats with Harleen or whenever Smriti bats with Pratika, the run rate is really nice. Like, it's well above 6 runs and over in both cases. So it's not even a case of these two can't bat well with other batters, right? Like, with Smriti, they are a really, really good opening partnership and with good consistent runs, right? But these two together, they make runs, but they bat a bit slow. So I have a few solutions for it, but what were your thoughts on that little period of play?
So it's interesting. Smriti Mandhana, again, in the form of her life, one of the best all-format batters currently playing women's cricket, right? And she has redefined India's batting, even, I would say, in white ball cricket. She's had that impact. And she's had a slow start to the World Cup, but that's fine. Nothing to worry about. If anything, her best is yet to come, which augurs really well for India. I think Pratika was the aggressor early on. She hit 3 boundaries on the bounce, right? Like, that was quite impressive. And she got a really good delivery by Sadia Iqbal, the straighter one that kind of cleaned her up.
It was actually 8 kilometers faster than the previous ball, like 76 to 84. So I think
it was a really, really good ball. I feel like, there is a bit of a strike rate issue between those two when they are together on the crease, Harleen and Pratika. What I was really fascinated by was that Richa Ghosh's demotion made sense in a way that today Amanjot Kaur wasn't available. So India usually bat till 9. Today they were batting till 8. And for a moment I was like, are they gulbissing themselves, at least in their heads? Because it shouldn't be the case as long as the combination is concerned. But when they actually sent Deepti and Sneh Rana ahead of Richa Ghosh, it was a smarter ploy, because you want to give Richa Ghosh the final 10 overs, or the death overs, to kind of just slog. And that's what they managed. So they batted slow in that period as well. But it ultimately turned out to be a positive because India would have known that they don't need a lot of runs to challenge Pakistan because it's not a very strong batting team. So they kind of consolidate in an important period. And then Richa Ghosh goes berserk towards the end. She was even out of form and the runs had dried up. But today her unbeaten 35 of 20. I mean, she was dropped on 34, but it didn't matter because it was the last over. Yeah. I feel like that was the best batting knock of the day for India, that unbeaten 35 of 20, because had this total been in and around 215, 220, even 230, Pakistan would have given themselves a bigger shot at chasing this down. And had they, conserved their wickets and needed like 60 to 70 runs in the final 10 overs, they could have won. Yeah. But then again, Pakistan, whether it's the men's team or the women's team, they have a major issue when it comes to strike rotation. Today in the power play, they were sluggish. They were 26 or 27 for 2. And then, the first 50 came in like 111 balls. Then the next 50 came in like 67 balls. The task was simple. Conserve your wickets, rotate strike till over 40, and then give yourself a proper shot with wickets in hand where you just have to chase 60 to 70 runs in the final 10. And Pakistan failed at that. So I feel like, yes, the quality between both sides was always an issue and there's a massive gulf. But Pakistan, had they played their cards correctly and if their approach was better or they were just a better team at rotating strike, they really could have pushed India today.
Yeah, I think definitely. So when you see how they went in the power play, right? They made 25 runs, I think 25 for 2 in 10 overs. So that was obviously not an ideal start. Against Bangladesh, they were better than this. But then again, you do expect India to be a better bowling side. And especially with Renuka Singh coming back, I think that definitely upgraded India's bowling in a way. Because even though Amanjot Kaur is definitely like a very good player, very good all-round player, right? And she bailed India out in the last game. But I think I noticed her opening spell in the last game. And even though she is also pretty fast, the thing with her is I think she sometimes, like in that innings, she was not as consistent as probably Renuka would have been today. And so Renuka, even though she didn't pick up a wicket, like in that early period, right? She didn't, like it was Kranti Gaur who took 2 wickets in that. And they both bowled extended spells, interestingly. Yeah. And what, I'll come to that. So they made 25 runs. Okay, fine. Like you'll give that to them because India have good bowlers and everything. And Kranti Gaur was obviously very good last game as well. And this game too, she's very fast as well. And it's very interesting watching her bowl. She, I think, bowls a lot in the good length. So I think today 46% of her deliveries were in the good length. So that was pretty interesting to see that she's very consistent. And then, but the main thing was that in that 11 to 15 overs period, Pakistan completely lost all momentum, I felt. They only made 5 runs in 5 overs. So that is when I was thinking, dude, what is happening? Again, it's the same old issue where they are not able to rotate strike properly and they've completely given up any possible like advantage in a way, right? But I felt they actually played India spinners pretty decently. That partnership between Natalia Pervez and Sidra, right? They actually batted pretty well. In those 12 overs, they made 65 runs without losing a wicket. So till Kranti Gaur came back and eventually got the wicket of Natalia, I think there was that little period of hope for Pakistan, and it might just be the template for them going forward in this tournament as to how they should approach batting in the middle overs, particularly against the spinners.
It's quite fascinating that you've pointed out that partnership in particular, because that was when you felt that Pakistan were in the game. Because Sidra Amin, look, she was the standout batter for Pakistan today, 81 of 106. But it was a flawed innings in the sense that she got dropped like 4 times, thrice by Richa Ghosh. She dropped her twice when she was, Sidra Amin was in single digits. Then she dropped her again when she was on 28. And then Charni also dropped Sidra Amin off her own bowling when Sidra was on 12. And Sidra got to her 1582 deliveries. That's a bit too slow. She does accelerate after that. And she was really smashing the spinners down the ground well. If you notice, she would give herself a bit of room, use her feet and smash them down the ground aerially. She was doing that bit quite well. And she's a good sweeper of the ball. Lots of good sweepers on display today, by the way. But again, whilst 81 of 106 was the best batting effort for Pakistan on the day, and perhaps even both teams, it was flawed, and the 50 came in a lot of deliveries. 82 deliveries is a lot. But then again, you're right. Up until Natalia Pervez was dismissed by the first ball of Kranti Gaur's second spell, I feel like Pakistan had a shot. They just needed to rotate strike till over 40, and it was a lapse in concentration, probably a bit of a brain fade moment by Natalia Pervez, and that ultimately cost them. But also, Shayan, Pakistan had plenty of opportunities today. If I just list down the moments, right? First, Jemima Rodriguez was caught behind off Diana Baig, and that was a no ball. She could have been out for 2. She scores 32. Sneh Rana nicked one of Fatma Sana to the keeper. No one appealed, right? That was also out. And she was gone for 3, but she ends up scoring 20. That's a lot of runs that Pakistan have given away over there. Even if they should have restricted India to below 247 at least, because Richa just goes mad towards the end, she goes berserk. Those are still two big lapses, which Pakistan, if you were a side which is clearly the underdog, you need to make the most of those chances. And there was also a run-out opportunity in which, who was it who survived? I can't quite. Jamima survived, right? So I feel like Pakistan had their moments, even with the bat early on. I remember like 2 to 3 LBW dismissals, which India never sent upstairs. Like, I think one was of Sadaf, one was Sidra, one might have been Muniba. Maybe one of those was umpire's call, like I can't remember, but that seemed to be a theme at that point that, they're just not using DRS, otherwise
they were
Pakistan
getting the
could
reviews
be.
right, exactly.
Yeah. They weren't, right? They weren't getting their reviews right at all. They weren't taking them, and then they wasted their reviews ultimately, which was funny. But that's not it. Pakistan were much better in the field than India. Their ground fielding was scrappy at times, but they only dropped that one catch towards the end. And at times they really fielded well, in the ground as well. Like the ground fielding was good. India's ground fielding was bad. India dropped 5 catches in total. 4 were dropped by Richa Ghosh, right? She dropped Sidra Amin thrice and Sidra Nawaz once. And then Charni, although that was a difficult catch, but she also dropped one off her own bowling. So India presented Pakistan with plenty of opportunities and they couldn't capitalize on those opportunities, and hence it's an 88-run loss. I'm not saying they could have won, but I feel like they really could have pushed India had they, made the most of those chances.
Yeah, I think that's definitely a fair assessment to say that, if they capitalized on their chances, they could have been in the game. Although, like you say that when they were when Natalia and Sidra were batting together, you thought they were in with a chance. I still don't completely agree with that because they were never really in control of the required run rate in a way. Like, of course, I think it was because of the first 15 overs where they only made 30 runs. I mean, it's just really hard to make a comeback from that point, isn't it? Like, no matter how well you play. As I mentioned, that 12-over period I thought was pretty interesting. And when you talk about how Sidra, she got to her 82 odd deliveries. I think it's fair because she was struggling more against pace, wasn't she? Against spin, she looked a lot more comfortable, I thought. And because of that, I think someone pointed out the strike rate difference as well. I can't quite remember it off the top of my head. But I have a wagon wheel here in front of me, and you mentioned that she was really good down the ground, right? So she makes 17 runs in that mid-on region and 9 towards the mid-off. So 26 runs come in the V, 16 in the covers, and 13 in the mid-wicket. So she had her zones. So definitely, like, she had her opportunities to score, I feel. But I think by the time that partnership was broken, it was just really hard for Pakistan to come back. I also felt Fatima Sana's innings was like not ideal simply because of the position where she came in. Maybe if she got a few quick runs, or not even just quick runs, just rotated strike a bit more comfortably. And I think at that point Kranti was bowling really well, right? Like she immediately that in those very 5 deliveries after taking the wicket, like I think she bowls a wicket made in there and there, like you can see that India right on top of this game. And I think I was calculating it mentally in my head that okay, Pakistan are about to face 200 deliveries. They've probably not even scored half the runs yet. So that definitely wasn't ideal, I thought.
The issue is that 247, whilst Pakistan did well overall, I know that India do well to demote Richa Ghosh, and then she comes off unbeaten 35 of 20, high impact knock, takes them to 247. But this was the first time Pakistan bowled India out, in ODIs. So that's a plus for them. And definitely. I feel like, look, there are positives that Pakistan can take from this match. I mean, I know Sidra Nawaz is averaging 9 in ODI cricket as a batter, but she was splendid behind the stumps. It's a really good contrast, right, between both wicket keepers. Richa was terrible behind the stumps, drops 4 catches, and scores very, very valuable impact runs. Sidra Nawaz struggles to hold a bat, but then her keeping was quite terrific at times. That take down the leg side to dismiss the Har monster in particular was quite nice. And Fatma's captaincy, when, both commentators, I remember Ronak and Sana Mir, they were both saying that right now you need to keep the slow left armers up against Harmanpreet. Fatma gave the ball to Diana. She strangled Harmanpreet Kaur down the leg side and should have had Jamima Rodriguez as well, but that didn't turn out the way they planned. I feel like, India was always going to be a tough game. It's a bit of a write-off for Pakistan, truth be told. And there are some positives they can take forward from this. And plus, they don't have to travel. So there's no fatigue element over there. And
Exactly.
they should only get more acclimatized to these conditions in Colombo in the Premadasa Stadium as this tournament goes along. So it's not all doom and gloom. I know 88 runs is a massive deficit, and it's by no means a competitive game if you just look at the scorecard at the end. But they had their moments. At times they had India under pressure, especially with ball in hand. Diana Baig takes 4 wickets, concedes a lot of runs. I know 69 runs are a lot, but still takes 4 wickets. Fatma Sana was brilliant. Dismissed Smriti early on, then came back and got another wicket, right? 2 for 38 in her 10 overs. And then Ramin Shamim, I thought she was remarkably economical, just 1 for 39 in her 10 overs. Sadia probably needed to be a bit more economical. She went for 2 for 47. And then Nashra as well, 1 for 53. So Pakistan are heavily reliant on their 2 slow left armers. If they win any games, it will be on the back of Sadia and Nashra's performances. And they combine for 3 for 100, right, in 20 overs. That maybe is an area they can really improve on.
Yeah, I think I definitely agree with you on that. I think their bowling overall was not too bad if you see, because even in the last game, their power play bowling in particular was pretty good against Bangladesh, when I think they really induced a lot of plays and misses. Today, I think still, because they were coming up against a better side in India, their power play, they still went for a few runs in the power play. But after that, I thought they did well to come back. And as you mentioned, it was that wicket where, like, if Jemmy was not out, like if Jemmy was out and that was not a no ball, things could have been massively different here in this game. And I think more than how Pakistan played it is a bit concerning, the start for India as well. Like the first couple of games, they've had to be bailed out a bit by their lower order batters, like their 6, 7, 8 roughly. It's a bit of a trend that I don't think augurs well for India when they are going to play the stronger teams, because like they need their batting to perform, right? Because I think at this point we can say that their bowling looks really solid at the moment, even though their spinners, like they didn't take a lot of wickets in that middle period there, where those 12 overs that I was talking about. And definitely it was Kranti who was their most impactful bowler today. But apart from that, like it was fine. I think if once Smriti starts getting more runs, that will be one thing that definitely solves it. And the other thing that I wanted to talk about is the number 3 issue, right? So whenever Smriti gets out, India just promote Harleen. India have had Harleen as their permanent number 3 for a long period of time. But I think how they can do it differently is essentially, so they have Jemmy as well, right? And although she's not like batted a lot, particularly at number 3, she's a good rotator of strike. And if you like see her bat, she's more proactive. She can play the sweep as well, I think. And overall, like you can see that she has multiple scoring options and she'll be a busy player, I think. So maybe someone like that paired up with Pratika would be a lot more impactful in that 11 to 25 period, especially once the field is spread out. You need to be able to take singles more effectively. And I'm not saying they have to just go all hammer and tongue and just smash the ball everywhere, right? Because even in the men's game, we don't really expect teams to go like hell for the leather in that 11 to 25 overs period, where like obviously you're not going to hit a lot of boundaries, but the key in that phase has to be strike rotation. And so and another way India can do this is they can get Deepti up the order. Like they can try that if Smriti gets out. That way you maintain the left hand right hand combination, and Deepti has been in form for India over the last few months, right? So this has been a very productive year for her actually. So I think India can think in that direction, in my opinion, for sure. And with Harleen, maybe you can make it more of a case of when India are in a more of trouble and they need like an insurance batter of sorts, where I think that's a better usage of her, because at the moment pairing up 2 slow batters I feel is a bit detrimental to India's cause, even if they give you runs.
No, I definitely take your point. I feel like Jemmy is someone who can really put pressure back on the opposition. Like as soon as she survives that no ball, the free hit is smashed on the pull for 4, right? Like it was a really, really positive shot. She is a good strike rotator, an elite sweeper of the ball, even though she's dismissed off the sweep as well. But I feel like you've got a point over there. And Deepti Sharma is incredible, really. Like in the first game versus Sri Lanka, she helps dig India out of that hole alongside Amanjot. India were 6 down for 125, and they scored a lot of runs towards the end. What was it, 270, 280 odd? And she took a 3 for in that game as well, today as well. I mean, look, 3 for 45 with the ball in 9 overs and a very, very, very valuable 25 run knock with the bat. She is probably one of India's most important players, Deepti Sharma. Definitely. And she is a luxury to have, because she's versatile as well.
Yeah, definitely. I think even if like the thing with her is that you can use her in multiple situations, both with bat and ball. So that's definitely a very useful situation for India to be in. And because even Sneh Rana has been pretty good this year. I think today, obviously she didn't bat as well, but in the last game she also batted really well, and she also has the ability to, score quick runs at times. So India, I think, have like a good little luxury to have like there in the lower order.
Also, I feel like did you catch the toss fiasco? It was quite hilarious. Yeah,
Yeah,
so
I only saw it on
feel
Twitter.
I feel like it was a good toss to lose/win for India because look, I missed the toss when it actually happened. I only
Yeah, same.
also caught the video later on. It seemed to me as well that Fatma said tails, and that's probably a gaffe on the match referee's part. Harmanpreet doesn't catch it either, and I feel like there was so much off-field nonsense that everyone was just like, let's get done with this smoothly, and maybe their heads were not in the right place over there. But Fatma Sana elects to chase. And if you see the movement for seamers in the second innings, it was more pronounced for both Kranti and Renuka. So that kind of works out for India, I suppose. But there's an interesting thing with the toss. I was getting slammed on Twitter with messages that, hey, if this happened with India, all hell would have broken loose. And I was like, yes, it probably would have, even though this is clearly human error. And it is a mistake that has been made, and everyone can see that. Unless the audio is distorted and I'm hearing something else, this is definitely a blunder. But of course, it would be more pronounced had this happened the other way, and India would have benefited from it. Because generally, not even necessarily limited to cricket, in all walks of life, I suppose, whenever the powerful benefit, even if it's accidental, the hue and cry is more, and a controversy is made out of it. That's just the world we live in. You won't see that crap being discussed over here in good areas, but you can't control the masses, can you?
Yeah, I think it's not really something I paid too much attention to. It's like pretty much a waste of time in my opinion. I can't really bother whatever happened there. Like, it's fine. I think if it was a human error, ultimately, I honestly couldn't even catch it. Like, because there's so much stuff going on, I ultimately just tune in when the game starts and like, just try and focus more on that, because I have to write these pieces for Best of Cricket as well, right? So I have to try and see, okay, what is happening here? What are the trends that we are talking about today in this game, right? So
True.
I think definitely. So I think Hypocost actually has an interesting comment. We can highlight that.
Sure.
Richa Ghosh's
Hypocost.
35 was
Yeah. No, go for it.
Basically, her innings was the highest ever in a Women's World Cup for India for 30 plus score. I think that is a fascinating bit, right? I did not expect
is.
that. Yeah.
I didn't either. And of course, her impact knock, I feel like, is probably the best in the game, right? Because I know that India, in hindsight, would have won this with 200 runs as well. But you can't say that for sure. Because Pakistan, look, Fatma Sana said that she wants to restrict India below 250. She got her wish, but there is a difference when you're chasing 225 versus 248. And Pakistan would have given themselves more of a shot chasing 226 or whatever arbitrary number you would take in the early 200s. So I feel like Richa really made a difference today. Kind of messed up big time behind the stumps, but yeah, I mean, still, I feel like she deserves the flowers, especially because she was out of runs and out of form, and this is a very welcome return to form. Hypocost also has another really fascinating message over here. If I can just get myself to find it. Yeah, there we go. So, Kranti Gaud took 3 for 20 today and was deservedly player of the match as well. I have not seen much of her. I thought that Pooja Vastrakar would be India's first choice alongside Renuka, but it's Kranti Gaud. I'm not sure what's happened there. You can tell me a bit about Kranti Gaud, but Hypocost is saying over here that she was the first Indian women's pace bowler to deliver 3 maidens in an ODI since Julian Goswami in her last ever game against England at Lord's in 2022. So yeah, I mean, look, she was pretty unplayable today, Kranti. Only a bad last over, was it? Before her last over, her figures read 3 for 14 in 9 overs.
Yeah. So I think definitely, like, so I think it was the WPL where I first saw her, and obviously I think what really stands out is that she has control over her bowling line and lengthwise, but she's also fast, right? So I think that really augurs well for India, and India, I think, clearly saw something in her game that they were like, okay, we want to fast track her. And I think as far as Pooja Vastrakar is concerned, they also have the option of Amanjot Kaur now, right? So I think they probably went in that direction and thought, okay, obviously with Renuka being one of their major bowlers, she can get the ball to move back into the right-handers. I think they might have thought that, okay, Renuka and Kranti can work really well together as a pair. I'm kind of speculating here because based on whatever I've seen of them in the WPL, it's Kranti was really good in that tournament. And then another interesting bowler actually in the WPL for India is Kashvi Gautam. So she might also come up at some point, and I believe she can also bat, if I'm not getting it wrong. So India do have like some up and coming fast bowlers. They even have Arundhati Reddy, right? So I think she got injured in the warm up game. I'm not so sure about her availability right at the moment. But when she comes back in, I think India have even more options. And it's good to see that India have lots of fast bowlers available to them. Like after the Jhulan Goswami era,
obviously, like, that's a massive void and huge shoes to fill. But I was really impressed with Kranti Gaud because I hadn't seen a lot of her, right? And today she was the best bowler across both teams. Like that spell of 3 for 20, wowza. And the two new ball wickets, and then it's that wicket of Natalia Pervez. I know that there's a lot of merit in saying that the game was probably done for Pakistan even before she got out, but they were still technically in it. They were hanging by a thread, and you thought to yourself that, okay, if these two can stay at the crease till over 40 and rotate strike, and Pakistan needs 70, 75 runs in the last 10 overs, maybe they can get there. But she put that to bed, and I like her attitude as well. She means business. She's got a really good game face. Anyway, I want to talk about some funny things with you before we end this show, but we've also got a super chat over here by Arun Rao, who says India was horrible with fielding and DRS calls. Don't see them getting past semis. Look, the way to look at this, Arun, is that India have been scrappy in both games. And today, I agree with you. The DRS calls were terrible. They should have gotten more wickets early on because those LBWs were clearly out. And the fielding was indefensible. You can't be dropping 5 catches, and the ground fielding at times as well. Like they were giving away 4s, which shouldn't have been, like they should have been stopped. But I feel that India can afford to be scrappy in the round robin stage, still qualify for the knockouts, and then if they bring their A game in the knockouts, they can lift the trophy, which they haven't done yet in women's cricket, by the way. They don't have an ICC trophy. But I feel like they have the luxury, because they're also playing at home, that they can be okay in the round robin stage. They just need to, turn up in the knockouts, and that's where, we can really make such statements. I feel like it's too soon to say what you're saying.
Yeah, I think it will be interesting to see. Right now is probably definitely they've not brought their A game yet in the first couple of games of the tournament. But I think actually it's Rathang who points it out that, well, let me find the comment, Have people already really forgotten that the series, which was just before this World Cup, India stretched Australia quite a bit, right? Exactly. I think India played some pretty good cricket in that tournament, in that little series, 3-match series, and they were in with a chance to chase down 400 plus, man. Like Smriti played the innings of her life, perhaps, but I mean, it took that. But even then, challenging Australia is definitely not easy because they are undoubtedly the strongest team in this tournament. But I feel like India are definitely around like the second or the third best team. They have to be like in the number 2 to number 4 range. I would have India in that for sure. So I think definitely.
Here's how I see it. Sorry to interject you, but I feel like the bottom rung is Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, Pakistan. Those 3 teams aren't expected to make the semis, even though Sri Lanka have home advantage and Pakistan are playing all of their games in Colombo. Quality deficit is what will probably end up stopping them. So I don't have them as, potential semi-finalists. I have them as complete underdogs. Then you've got this middle tier, which has New Zealand, the White Ferns, and South Africa in it. South Africa were rolled over for 69 by England, and New Zealand, again, they can turn up on occasion, but it's one of those 2 teams which I feel will make the semis. And then you've got that top bracket. And the top bracket includes Australia, India, and England. And probably in that order as well. Australia are out-and-out favourites to lift the trophy. They've won it, 6-7 times? I want to say 7. 7 times. England, really, really good spin bowling attack. I mean, we already knew about the trio of Sophie Eccleston, Charlie Dean, and Sarah Glenn. Sarah Glenn didn't even play, bro. It was Lindsay Smith who ran away with 3 for 7. In 4 overs, she took 3 for 7 and she completely derailed South Africa up front. So she wasn't even on my ODI World Cup bingo card, and here she is. So I feel like India and England are probably more comparable. It's unfair on India to compare them to Australia, and they did nearly chase down 413 versus them not too long ago. So I feel like all these 3 teams, they are contenders. And this is not T20 cricket, because we were saying the same stuff in the T20 World Cup, and we had a New Zealand-South Africa final, which New Zealand won. But it's more difficult for a weaker opposition team to defeat top quality teams when the overs are 50 instead of 20. The margin of error is less.
Yeah, I think I completely agree with you on that. India even won the series in England, the one then they went there and played the 3-match series. So I think definitely India are in that England bracket roughly. I would say Australia are obviously even within that, they are a tier above the other teams. Like they are clearly, like the thing with them is they have so much luxury, right? Like, I mean, they have Annabelle Sutherland in their team, who is probably one of the best players in the world right now. And she doesn't even have to be like a major player for them on either side of the ball. Like, she's a very important player, don't get me wrong. But like, it's just the fact that they have that level of a player who is not even yet at her peak years. And there are obviously so many other great players in Australia, and they have lots of variety. Every type of bowler that you can imagine, every type of batter that you want, they are just too good. So
I mean, think about it, dude. Their top four is Alyssa Healy, who is probably the best keeper batter in the world, at least in white ball cricket, she is, right? That's, I mean, a big plus on its own. And then she's paired with Phoebe Litchfield in the opening slot. And Phoebe is the most prodigious young batter in all of women's cricket. Like, we know that she's destined for great things. She is the heir to Meg Lanning's throne, in my eyes at least.
big words.
Followed by, I mean, they are big words, but she is that talented. You've got Elise
she is
Perry
very
at 3.
talented, definitely.
You know, Elise Perry is one of the greatest female cricketers of all time, and she's slotted in at 3. And at 4, you've got Beth Mooney, who was the main orchestrator for Australia in that, 412 innings. And then all of these 4 kind of failed versus New Zealand, and Ash Gardner played the innings of her life and scored that ton. So, like, how do you compete with that, bro?
Exactly, that is the thing, right? Like even someone like Kim Garth, for instance, even she can bat. That's the level of depth that we are talking about with Australia. So undoubtedly they're a cut above the rest. But as we're talking about India and England, they're also pretty solid. But let's see. I mean, it's cricket; anything can happen. Definitely, I would agree with the fact that lots of people have been critical of their fielding, and it's very justified. Because like you cannot be doing such mistakes against stronger teams because they will not give you another opportunity. Like just think about what happened with New Zealand and Australia, right? So we know that Australia lost early wickets. New Zealand were ahead in the game. But even then, like they had Ash Gardner and Talia Megra. Talia Megra wasn't even in great form, I think, in the lead up to the tournament. And they ended up coming back and winning that game quite comfortably in the end. Like they ended up posting so many runs and then they took 2 wickets for no runs. So it was like you just know that this is a team where you cannot give them much of an opening. And I think it's just about how other teams compete. I also don't think South Africa are as bad. Like they are also a bit reliant on their openers and Marizan Cup with the bat.
Yes.
But they're definitely not as bad a side as they were that day against England, right? We can still say it was a bit of an outlier performance.
Look, South Africa's bowling isn't up to this mark what it used to be, right? Like you don't have Shabnam Ismail anymore, which is a big loss. But their top 4 isn't bad. You've got the Wolf, Laura Wolfart, and Tasman Brits has been in form. Sune Lees is a good player, and Marizan Kapp is a goat, right? She's an all-timer. So they are a better team than this. But again, the fact that Ash Gardner exists for Australia and Annabelle Sutherland and all of these other bowlers who can bat, that is a big luxury. And they proved it the other day. They got to 326, was it? Without even trying, right? Like they were just kind of coasting at one point because they had a really aggressive start to the innings, and it's going to be extremely tough to beat them, the Southern Stars. Anyway, let's come back to India-Pakistan because I had a few things to discuss with you.
You were talking about funny stuff.
Yes, there's a lot of funny stuff. We already discussed the toss fiasco, which was hilarious to me, and I mean, massive blunder. One thing that created a lot of uproar was the Muniba run out. Now, I was messaging in the group and I feel like Saurabh and I were having a conversation. So Muniba grounds her bat, then lifts it, and then the ball hits the stump and she's out. And originally I thought, hey, I remember a law change in which if you are in a run-out situation, if you make your ground the first time, and then even if you are lifting your bat, you're not out. Turns out, God bless Mel Jones for explaining it to all of us, you need to be attempting a run or diving in order for that to kick in. So she was in fact run out, but then I was thinking, okay, if she's been bestowed over here, then why isn't she stumped? Why is she run out? If she wasn't attempting a run, she should be stumped. But then it turns out that if the keeper had hit the stumps, that's when she would be stumped and not a run out. Did you know about this? Were you well versed with this law? Because I definitely wasn't. I was today years old when I found this stuff out.
Yeah, I mean, it was a bit of a tricky one, right? Like I think it's the sort of stuff that you would expect from nerds. I'm not that nerdy about rules and stuff in particular. I'm more like into the actual numbers and what is happening in the game.
The fact that you've called them rules over here, Cheyenne, will probably get you fired. Jared better not hear this because he's very stern about that. That it's law, not rules. So I get what you're saying.
Is that even a thing?
Yeah. He's scolded me on it in one of our lives long ago. Yeah.
Why? I still don't get it.
Because cricket is just that serious a sport that we don't have rules, we have laws, bro. Clearly. Anyway, I was confused and there was like massive uproar after that. And then I was like, okay, wait, Mel Jones has explained everything and this checks out. And ultimately that's poor stuff by Muniba. She doesn't have that presence of mind. I mean, she's looking at the fielder and she still raised her bat. And sure, maybe unlucky, but also casual. I would put that dismissal down to Muniba. All right. Last 2 things that were really, really funny today. The insect or bug situation in Colombo. Fatma Sana's bringing out bug spray. Then we've got professional fumigation teams out there trying to eliminate the bugs. But they survived, man. The bugs didn't die. I've never seen this before. I've seen bugs, but this was an insane amount of bugs. India's batters were struggling out there.
Yeah, I think must have been the first time where I saw a 15 minutes break for a thing like this. Like, this was very random. Again, it's the same thing that while I'm writing, while covering a game, it's just that I tend to like sort of switch off from these things. I was like, okay, whatever is happening, it's fine. I have to focus on the work, focus on what is happening there. But I couldn't escape it even then, right? Like, even after all the work and, trying to follow the game, you just can't escape such a thing, right?
Yeah. I mean, honestly, like, I was also kind of multitasking today. And once you get married, you'll know more about that. Right now, you're only busy with your best of cricket articles, but things get a bit more complicated, I suppose, because you have to give other people time, which, of course, I'm always here for. This is not me throwing shade at my wife at all. I love her. But yes, I also could not escape the insects. I was like, okay, this bug situation is quite extreme over here, right? Like, if they've had to leave the field, then clearly, like, this is an issue. I've never seen it before, not to this extent at least. I've seen bugs, but not this many. And I think it was Omkar from Cricinfo, Omkar Mankame. He had a tweet saying it would be funny if we ever get a headline where it says cricket's stop play, right? Because that's kind of what it was. But yeah, that's the other funny thing I wanted to discuss with you. And lastly, be honest with me. How many ICC tournaments have we had with the same shitty mascots, Shayan? They were worse than the insects. I've developed a real hatred for those mascots because every time we have an ICC tournament, those same two, mascots appear. And I'm like, guys, it's not a lot of budget, is it? Like, this has got to be the 5th or 6th tournament where I'm seeing them.
Yeah, possibly, right? Like, I think it was there in the 2023 one. I can't quite remember before that. Was it there in 2022 as well?
No, I don't know actually. If someone in the comments can let us know. Okay, I remember them in the ODI World Cup in 2023, and I remember them in both the Women's T20 World Cup, the recent one, and the Men's T20 World Cup. That's 3, and this event makes it 4, and Champions Trophy makes it 5. That's 5 that I've counted right now. Is there a 6th one that we are missing? Can we all start a GoFundMe page for the ICC to invest more money in new mascots? Because come on, man, those two guys look like that boy and that girl, it seems like they've come straight out of a toothpaste ad. They have got nothing to do with cricket. Fix this. Bring Stumpy back for all I care. Stumpy the elephant.
Yeah. I think they have to probably be a bit more creative on that end. I didn't really pay much attention to this, but I think good on you for bringing this up.
Yeah, anyway, that kind of wraps up the conversation for today's episode of Third Innings. We're not sure how frequently we'll be able to do these because I'm currently working 3 jobs. Today we were late just because Shayan and I were busy. And we'll try to come as frequently as we can. We have a vast team, and Estelle is also doing some other work for the Murali end, and she's at games. Varun is probably not as well versed, and Saurabh has his limitations, as like Jared is always busy as well. But we'll try to bring you maximum third innings throughout the Women's ODI World Cup, and you'll definitely get like proper podcasts come the business end of the tournament when we get to the knockouts. But anyway, thank you everyone for your interactions. And
I'd just like to add that. Even on the main channel, you can go and watch. Like, we're doing a lot of videos related to the Women's World Cup. We just did one on the history of the Women's World Cup, by the way, how the 1973 tournament originated in the first place, right? Like, that is a very big thing in the history of cricket in general. And actually, shout out to Hypocost as well for like helping out with a lot of stuff in that piece. It was a very interesting read for me, I think. Really liked editing that one. And then there's one on the team maps as well, which gives us a good idea of what has happened in like the last World Cup cycle and how teams shape up in general. I think it's just a more easy way to look at things. It doesn't complicate things, because otherwise when you have to go in the depths of every team and see, because most fans, like, they're just following one team, right? Or maybe like a couple of teams, whatever they're watching. And dude, like, my latest rant against cricket is there is so much cricket. I'm so frustrated these days. You might be like the 5th or 6th person I'm saying this to now, because
seriously,
dude, I mean, how am I supposed to balance my life? How am I supposed to watch all these games at the same time?
So 2 things over here. First of all,
Yeah.
shout out to Hypocost for existing, because without
Yeah.
Hypocost's existence, women's cricket would just be poorer. So, legend, absolute legend. If you don't follow him already, go to Twitter and follow him today. And secondly, I feel you, man. Like, I love my job. You know how passionate I am
Yeah.
about covering cricket, and I have
True.
big dreams as well, as you do, right? Like, we really love what we do and we're grateful for it. But god damn it, man, cricket doesn't have an off season. It's just on
Exactly.
24/7, 365. It never ends. You can't plan vacations. It's bad. Every other sport has off seasons. Cricket doesn't. At least in major sports, that's true. And I don't count WWE as a sport. So no, don't come at me with
course.
friggin' wrestling, okay? But anyway, that's it, I suppose. And thank you for sending all of your interactions and that solitary super chat as well. Just a quick reminder, you guys can go to goodareas.co and bookmark that webpage. That can prove to be your one-stop shop for all the fun work that we do as part of our team, whether it be written content, videos, or podcasts. All of those, women's content or women's cricket pieces and video content that Cheyenne is talking about is available on the main channel and on our Substack as well. And of course, as I mentioned at the start of this podcast, all of our shows on the Good Areas Network are powered by our supporters on Patreon, and you can become one of them by going to Patreon/Good Areas Podcast, and then you can enjoy ad-free content, you can talk to us exclusively, and you can give us podcast recommendations as well. That's all for today from Third Innings, and you guys have a good one. Enjoy the Women's ODI World Cup, and we'll see you again soon enough. That's all for today. Have a good one, and goodbye.
This video is brought to you by our supporters on Patreon. If you want to be part of the community that makes content like this, head over now. Ben Duckett does not leave the ball. He goes after everything. That is his signature style. Well, actually, no. Perhaps now he is best known for Duckett's Buckets, his new hat range. I don't know if Herbert Sutcliffe sold his own hats, but I would definitely have bought them if he did. But Ben Duckett does, so you don't need to be left alone without one. Chase down your own Duckett's Buckets today.